All right, ladies and gentlemen, just making sure everything is connected here. Make sure everything is good. Hold on for a sec. There we go. But yeah, good morning. It is about 9:50 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or Pacific Time anyway. Yes, I am off, as you could tell. I've been off since yesterday. I'm going to be off today and tomorrow and Friday, so plenty of time. And then next week I'll be working a nearly full-time schedule, and then it's back to what this schedule is for this week. Go figure, right? Go figure. Go figure, right? Anyway, yes, we are live, and as you could tell by the title, let's talk some wrestling. Let's talk officially there are two big there are several big stories coming out. We got a few others we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about these top ones, of course, right off the bat. And that's, as of this morning, about a couple of hours ago, a lot of people have been talking about this. The Lex Man is currently or has is currently or recently, as of a little bit ago, did a live stream on his thoughts on the whole deal that has been announced hours before the upfront conference, I guess you could say, at Madison Square Garden, that All Elite Wrestling is officially, and I talked about this the other day. I talked about this in a video called AEW All Elite Wrestling. Is TNT bound, or is it? Or is it? And we can officially say now, folks, excuse me, but we can now officially say that AEW, and Delexman is still currently doing his video live. So if you want to check that out, go to Delexman, DALYXMAN, DALYXMAN, Delexman. Check out his thoughts on it. But everybody from Delexman to the John Cronin show, John Cronin show, to, let's see, Wrestle Talk, to everybody, to a lot of even major outlets like CBS Sports, Forbes, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, the New York Post. You you basically, any major publication, newspaper, entertainment publication you could think of, Sports Illustrated, you name it, have all been reporting this. GameSpot has reported this. Like I said, TNT. I mean, not TNT, but CBS Sports, New York Post, uh, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Forbes, you name them. ESPN, I even think, is picking up on this. You name the publication, the newspaper, the entertainment newspaper article publication, they are talking about this. The sports article publications, they are talking about this because it is a big, big deal, ladies and gentlemen. It is a big, big deal because it has been, and they even point this out, and even I mentioned this. Even I mentioned this, that it has been nearly 20 years, 18 years actually this year, since wrestling was on TNT. Last time wrestling was on TNT was, of course, the very last Monday Nitro, which became a simulcast along with WWE and Monday Night Raw, basically officially announcing, even in story, the acquisition of World Championship Wrestling. Well, now, basically, TNT has decided to get back in the wrestling game. Now, You might ask, why did it take so long for them to get back in the wrestling game? They had numerous opportunities to pick up and maybe work with other promotions like Impact, aka TNT. I mean Impact, aka TNA, ROH, Ring of Honor. They had multiple opportunities. You know, like PWG, MLW. Had these multiple opportunities. Why did they pass on them? What happened? Well, true, they had a lot of opportunities. Absolutely. They even could have worked with the WWA, World Wrestling All Stars. They could have done that. Um, they could have picked up on. They could have negotiated with iGeneration Wrestling for all we know. Point is, ladies and gentlemen, the reason, the reason those potential deals, even something like the XWF, they could have worked something out with them. The reason they didn't happen is at the time TNT was still part of AOL. AOL had bought out bought a stock, a major stock in Warner in internal broadcasting and all that, and decided, long story short, when they did this back in the late 2000s, early 2000s, I should say, 2001, if you will, they decided, these people that bought out at AOL, that they did not want anything to do with wrestling. They felt wrestling was non-profitable. It wasn't worth having. They didn't want it. And what this did was it screwed up the potential deal that Eric Bischoff had in place with Fusion. I think it was a Fusion Media, to try to buy the product and relaunch it. And again, like everybody, and as everybody has mentioned, now that this has come up with AEW, Eric Bischoff through Fusion Media was going to buy the company and relaunch it in May of 2001 with the WCW Big Bang pay-per-view. But because AOL came in and said, and made this partnership, and the people in charge at that time decided, nope, we don't want wrestling. It's not profitable. It's not worth having. It screwed Eric Bischoff's deal up with Fusion Media, to the point that Bischoff has said it himself. He's sitting on the beach in one of his vacation homes in Florida. He gets a phone call from one of his partners at Fusion Media saying the deal's off. And when Eric wonders why, that person explains why. So this, to a lot of fans, is a big deal, because, like I said, this is a big deal for a lot of fans, because it's basically a return of professional wrestling to a major network, a network that's like second. Oh, excuse me, there my hand hit the mic, but a network that is basically the second to third biggest network around. Now, I know what people are going to think. They're going to think, well, it's great and everything. It's great that, TNT has decided, hey, we want to rebroadcast wrestling again, or we want to get back into wrestling game again. But the question is it going to be a success? That all depends on the night that it's broadcast. You see, basically, and I'll read the article in a minute, but basically it's stated to come out in October of this year, but we don't know exactly what date it's going to be debuting on. Now, that might all change by the end of today, and we might, by the end of today, at that Upfronts convention, we might find out exactly what day and time slot it's going to debut in. So, we might find out by then, but we'll have to, like I said, we'll have to wait and see, what they got planned, what they plan to do in the future. What the plans are overall. But this is a big deal, because it gives WWE competition. I want you to think about this. WWE was actually pretty good. Despite how some people may look at it, it was actually pretty good in the early to mid 2000s. and even somewhat into the late 2000s, they were actually good. Even when they went into the PG era, they were somewhat good. Why? Because despite the fact that it was on a different night, Impact Wrestling was being broadcast on a major network. A network that WWE used to call home, that was Spike TV, now the Paramount Network. But they used to broadcast Impact Wrestling, TNA. And even though it was on at a different night most of the time, it still lit a fire under WWE, or kept that fire lit under WWE, because they knew if they didn't put on a good product, people were going to wait until Thursday night to watch Impact Wrestling. So, yeah, the people at, so yeah, basically WWE had the competition they needed somewhat to kind of keep that fire lit. What happened later on? Well, I'll tell you what happened. As obviously as the deal, I'll tell you what happened. A lot of people point to this. The moment Hogan and Bischoff got signed, and they tried to reignite those Monday Night Wars, I should say, that's when a lot of things fell apart. Now, that they try to pick themselves back up throughout the years? Absolutely. Have they improved now? Have they gotten better? Absolutely. But a few things have changed. They're no longer on Spike, or AKA the Paramount Network. They went from Paramount to Destination America, which wasn't good. So that didn't help them. They went to Pop. It's a semi-major network, but not too big. Then they went from Pop to Pursuit Network, wherever that is. And now they're on Twitch as well. And, sorry, my finger hit the mic again. And a lot of people, they're still behind Impact. They're still behind the product. There's no doubt about that. But the thing is, what hurt them and what caused that fire that they used to keep lit under WWE to kind of extinguish a little bit more, is they kept rotating their time slots. And nobody knew when sometimes to catch it. When they finally settled on a time slot, that's when it kind of helped out. But still, they'd extinguished the fire that was still lit under WWE so much that WWE didn't care. Now they're going to. And the best example of showing that WWE might care is this Sunday with Money in the Bank. You see, this Sunday, Money in the Bank might be a secondary pay-per-view, or might be the big one of the big pay-per-views of the year, however you look at it. But this Sunday is an opportunity for this company to basically show, yeah, All Elite's coming, but you know what? We're still the best. They need to prove that this Sunday. They need to prove it this Sunday. And they got an opportunity to do so. They got an opportunity to do so this Sunday. So let's hope they do. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Just trying to think of what I'm going to say next. But like I said, here's the thing. A lot of people might say, now I know there's a lot of people that are going to probably be a little bit negative towards this, because they're thinking, like I said earlier, they're going to think, yeah, it's great, they're on TNT and everything, but, are they going to be able to get the viewers? Well, that all depends, because we know, ironically, in the same month, SmackDown Live is moving to Fox. And we know, with further reports, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, we know that no matter what happens in the future, Fox, the major Fox network, Fox TV, is stuck with SmackDown no matter what. We know that. We know that for a fact. We know that. So basically, why am I bringing this up? Well, there are reports going around that there are a couple of nights being considered. 2 nights specifically. One could be Tuesday nights because All Elite Wrestling trademarked Tuesday Night Dynamite. So that might work. Recently, rumor has also popped up that another night is being considered, and ironically, that's Friday night. Now, the reason I bring both these nights up is due to the fact that there have been reports in the past that Fox doesn't plan to keep SmackDown on Friday nights too long, and they might move it back to Tuesdays. When and where that would happen is up to them. The other thing is, now the other report is AEW. There's another. What I'm trying to say is the other rumor is AEW, the Khan family, and all that. Even now, TNT might be considering Friday nights as a slot as well, so they can go head to head. But again, those are just rumors. That's just another rumored speculation. Here's the thing about All Elite. Here's the thing. No matter what, I look at it this way. No matter what day All Elite Wrestling lands on TNT, it's going to light a fire. Because if WWE doesn't pick up the slack by then, people are going to be like, you know what? I'm going to wait to this day to get my wrestling fix. And that's what they're going to do. And what that's going excuse me. And what that's going to do is it's going to light a fire under WWE to basically say, okay, they want to play that game? We'll show them that we're still the be all end all. So I look at the fact that no matter how you try to look at it, no matter how you try to, kind of discuss it, or how you feel this should happen and that should happen, what is going to occur no matter what. Like you can argue, oh, All Elite TNT should put All Elite on Monday nights. People are saying bad idea. People are saying, well, give it Tuesday night because it's Tuesday Night Dynamite. Okay. Wednesday, middle of the week, fine. Everybody's saying all this. Some are even saying, hey, give it the 6:05 time slot on Saturday nights. Okay. That's fine too. That's fine too. But again, here's the thing. It's not going to matter what night. It's not going to matter what night All Elite Wrestling broadcast on. All Elite Wrestling, like I said, it's not going to matter what night it's on. What's going to happen is this is going to light a fire under WWE no matter how you look at it. No matter how you look at it, it's going to light a fire. And I know some people think that I'm just overanalyzing. I'm not thinking about how this could happen, how it could light a fire. But believe me, any night All Elite Wrestling is on, it's going to light a fire. I don't think that's uncommon knowledge, if you know what I mean. But anyway, let me finally read you guys exactly what I'm talking about. This is a press release, and hold on for a sec. Only time I get to wear these a little bit. Got to clean them, but they still work. Anyway, let me read you. This is the press release. Actually, I had to piece together some of the press release from different articles. From one article, I believe, because it's impossible to print that way. But this is what the press release says, and I quote. This is what the press release says, and I quote. All Elite Wrestling and Turner have agreed to air a weekly AEW television show to air on TNT. An announcement was made on Wednesday ahead of the Turner Upfront event, which comes 10 days before AEW's debut event, the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Well, there have been other wrestling promotions with national TV aside from WWE since the fall of WCW in 2001. AEW stands as the first company with major financial backing to take a swing at beginning to compete with WWE on a major level in nearly 2 decades. The AEW TV show will air live weekly in prime time beginning in the fall. Beyond that, no additional details were released, including the potential name, length, time slot or day of the week. The program. Okay, let me reread that. Hold on. The AEW TV show will air live weekly in prime time beginning in the fall. Beyond that, no additional details were released, including the potential name, length, time slot, or day of the week the program will air. AEW does have a trademark for Tuesday Night Dynamite. Additionally, AEW special events will be available exclusively digitally through Turner's B/R Live platform along with traditional pay-per-view. And in case you're wondering what B/R Live is, that is Bleacher Report. The first such event will be Double or Nothing on Saturday, May 25th from the MGM Grand. Okay, let me reread that. Sorry. Some of them. Additionally, AEW special events will be available exclusively through Turner's B/R Live platform, B/R being Bleacher Report, along with traditional pay-per-view. The first such event will be Double or Nothing on Saturday, May 25th from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Financial details deal. The financial details deal will not Financial details deal will not disclosed as AEW is not a publicly traded company. So that's another kind of advantage AEW would have. They're not publicly traded, so they can get away with a little bit more. All right, continuing on, and I quote, what the press release from AEW and TNT did reveal is the brand's mission, which is to offer fans a product that is, get this, less scripted, soapy drama, and more athleticism and real sports analysis or analytics, bringing a legitimacy to wrestling. Wrestlers will also be given more freedom to explore their characters and highlight their athletic abilities. Other innovations include introducing statistics to wrestling for the first time ever, such as tracking each competitor's wins and losses as the wrestlers pursue championships, analyzing the moves, assessing damage to the opponents, and providing insights into the winning streaks. So that's pretty good. So what it's saying here is, let's say Chris Jericho goes on an undefeated streak for a couple of months. They're going to what they're going to do is they're going to provide insight as to why he's on this winning streak. Like, this is the reason. This is how he's winning. This is what he does to get that win. They're going to give a lot of statistics. So, like, let's say Sean Spears, aka Ty Dillinger, signs with the company. And Sean Spears goes on a losing streak, and he's 1-20. And he keeps appearing. They can point out that he will never get a championship shot unless he gets maybe 9 more wins. or breaks even at 500. So that's pretty good. So that's pretty good. Good. That they're going to try to put that in there. Now, put this in there. They're going to try to go with that perspective. Analyzing the moves and why this move's so effective, the damaging that moves gives to an opponent. So I like all this. I like what they're going to do here. So that's pretty cool. That's a really good way to kind of show that you're more innovative. But here's the thing. I know some people are going to basically look at this and say, yeah, they say that now, and they might. Because honestly, this is what a lot of people are going to do. There are people going to be a little critical about it. A lot of people are going to be critical about it. They're going to be like, and I'm sorry for the bad stream. I don't know what's going on there. And there are going to be some people that are critical about it. Don't get me wrong. There are going to be people critical, but if they can provide this, let's see, where can I find it? Right here. If they can provide that to help us out, to help out the wrestling business, that's going to be good. It's actually going to be pretty good. It's actually going to be pretty decent in the long run. Now, continuing on, and I quote, "The move which brings AEW to the former home of WCW was announced by TNT's Twitter account with a quote harkening back to Ted Turner's Okay, let me reread that. And again, I'm sorry for the bad stream and all that. Right now, we have possibly some weather issues going on, so I do apologize. But like I said, continuing on, the move which brings AEW to the former home of WCW was announced by TNT's Twitter account with a quote harkening back to Ted Turner's infamously telling investors he was getting into the wrestling business. The image used also brought visions of the former WCW Monday Nitro logo. The image used brought visions of the former WCW Monday Nitro logo, which I guess is pretty cool, pretty interesting on the part to do that. Continuing on. Let me get a drink of coffee here. And it looks like the stream got better, so I do apologize for any inconvenience. But again, continuing on. All Elite Wrestling is a talent-forward, fan-first league whose inclusive, approach to creating high-quality athletic wrestling competitions is already making waves with fans and attracting top-tier wrestlers. This was actually a quote by Michael Quigley, who's the executive vice president of TBS and TNT. This is what he's saying. And I quote, "It is high adrenaline, gripping entertainment, and we can't wait to bring it to fans everywhere with this game-changing new business." So basically what Michael Quigley is saying is, look, this is what we need. This is what not only does wrestling need, but the fans need, but this is what TNT and networks like that need. They need something that's going to help them out. Now, continuing on. Added AEW president and CEO Khan, this is what Khan said, Tony Khan, I should say, adding to that, AEW president and CEO Tony Khan said this, and I quote, "Wrestling fans have wanted and needed something different, authentic, and better for far too long. AEW is answering the call. AEW is about more than wrestling. It's about a movement fueled by wrestling fans who have been undeserved and perhaps even disappointed by what the industry has produced in recent years. AEW is poised globally to redefine wrestling as we know it today. So basically, so that's what he said. And again, I know some people will be like, yeah, there are going to be some detractors that might say, yeah, that's great for him to say, but we'll wait, but we'll see what happens. And here's what I think a lot of detractors and critics might look at this. They might say, yeah, you could say all this nice stuff, you're going to go the logistics, statistics, and analytics and all that. You're going to say this and that, blah, 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 blah. And you might utilize that right off the bat, but what happens later on? That's what a lot of detractors and critics might be like, yeah, but what happens later on? Are you going to continue doing that? Or are you going to go the route the previous competitor to WWE went down the line? We'll have to wait and see. It goes on to state. Now the article goes on to finish up and state WWE in June agreed to a 5-year reportedly $1 billion deal with Fox, that being June of last year, with Fox to air SmackDown on the broadcast network beginning on October 4th. The show, which had long been WWE's second behind Raw, will move from Tuesday to Friday nights and continue airing live in a 2-hour window from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. It will be the first time WWE will have weekly programming on a broadcast network since 2006, that being SmackDown on UPN. That scheduling change for WWE SmackDown opens Tuesday nights to a potential AEW show, as it would not be ideal for it to go head-to-head with a main WWE programming. However, WWE will be replacing its Tuesday offerings with a studio show that will air on FS1 that night. WWE also agreed to a 5-year extension with USA to air Raw, the company's longest-running signature TV show. Financial terms of that agreement were not disclosed, but considering the programming is 3 hours, it is expected that they are similar to the Fox deal. Closing out this press release, key members of AEW were expected to be in attendance at the Turner Upfront at Madison Square Garden on Wednesday, which is today. So overall, this sounds great. I love the idea that they're going to take a more, and a lot of people are praising this, that it's great that they're going to be taking on a more athletic, kind of more sports-like perspective up to the product, because that is something that, believe it or not, a lot of hardcore fans have gotten into. And as much as I hate to say this, and I know some people may not like hearing me say this, but you can thank freaking MMA and mostly the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships. You can thank the UFC and MMA for that, because they're basically a hybrid of martial arts and pro wrestling. And the way they do their thing is they go by the wins and losses. And they judge it by statistics, analytics, and all that. And that is what's made them a success. The fact that they're offering a more legitimate sport, somewhat in a wrestling kind of style. Now, some people will say, well, didn't TNA, when it started up as part of the NWA, and even when it went out on its own, didn't TNA kind of, try that as well when they looked at the tail of the tape and the X factors and all that when it came to championship matches? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know why they threw that out. It made the company feel a little legitimate as a sport. But yeah, they did do that for a while, then they phased it away. And again, that's what and like I said earlier, I can understand where a lot of detractors and even critics that are happy this is happening, but not too sure about, a lot about what's being said, and basically are like, yeah, we'll see it when we'll believe it when we see it kind of deal. I can understand that they're looking at something like that and saying, yeah, AEW may be saying that now, and they may utilize that at the start to kind of get people's attention and get them to tune into the product. But sooner or later, they may just phase that out and just be a regular wrestling promotion. That's what I think a lot of fans. That's what I think a lot of these detractors and critics are looking at. Like they're again, like I said, they're happy that TNT is getting back into the wrestling game, and that we might have a legitimate alternative, and that there will be, I should say, a legitimate alternative and maybe competitor for WWE. But what they're looking at, honestly, is the fact that you know Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes, Tony Khan, all of them could say all this, but it's one thing to say it, it's another to really visually and visually show it. Give us give us that visual evidence that you're going to pursue this direction that you want to go with AEW and continue to do so, because if not, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to look at the fact that later on, if they start noticing that that's not getting utilized as much as was as much as it was promised in the beginning, they're going to start noticing that all that was us for a while was just nothing but fast talk. All that was just poppycock. All that was basically, yeah, let's say what they want to hear, and let's kind of visually do that as well. But then let's phase it out and just be a regular company. And hopefully that doesn't happen. They hopefully they will basically back up what they preach. Hopefully they will back up what they preach, and that we will get a legitimate sporty feel, if you will, to wrestling once again. Now, believe it or not, it's still going to be entertainment. You're still going to have good guys, bad guys, villains, heroes, baby faces, heels, tweeners, whatever. You're still going to have all that, but it's going to have more of an athletic kind of feel to it. But again, like I said, what's going to detract some people, or what's going to make a lot of people unsure, even though they might be happy that this is happening, or even though they are happy, is if AEW can keep that promise. Can they keep that promise to give their company, to make their company different than everybody else's? Can they keep that promise to put more legitimacy of more of a sport legitimacy to wrestling, with the statistics, analytics, and all that, the wins and losses? Can they keep the promise to do that, or are they going to end up just breaking that promise and sooner or later just go to being a regular wrestling company? We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they don't do that, because if they do, then it's just going to show that AEW, and I've said this before, is exactly what some people have pointed it out to be, and that's just a vanity project by Cody Rhodes to basically stick it to WWE and mostly Vince McMahon and say, hey, look, see? I'm the top guy here. I'm the world champ here. See what you lost out on? You want me back? Too late. So we'll have to wait. So I look at the fact that we will have to wait and see. I'm hoping they keep the promise that they're going to give that more of a legitimacy of sport to to wrestling and with this company, because that is exactly what is needed in the long run. So I am happy this is happening. It gives me an opportunity to tune in October and watch this show and see what they have to offer. I want to see Double or Nothing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that financially and all that this upcoming week, but hopefully I'll be able to. But yeah, I'm really happy about this. I really am. I mean, look, we can all detract and say, "Oh, this is not going to happen." Dot 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 dot. Oh, this is BS. They're just talking out the butt. And yeah, they may do all this and all that at the start, or with Double or Nothing, even with the weekly shows and all that. Da, 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 da. And that's fine. If you want to, kind of feel that way, if you want to feel like they're just saying this and they're going to do it for a while, then they're just going to slowly progress into being another wrestling promotion. Fine, if you want to believe that, go ahead. I'm willing to give it a chance because guys, this is a moment we need. This is a moment we have been waiting for. We've been waiting for this, something like this to happen. And I know some people are thinking, well, and again, there are those are detractors, and they might say, yeah, it's nice that they ended up on TNT and everything. It's nice they ended up on TNT, but we said the same thing about TNA being on Spike, and that went nowhere. How we know this is going to be the same way? We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, the one thing a lot of people are trying to give advice to is don't go up against WWE right off the bat. But this is on TNT. And you can't tell me that the people at TNT, the upfronts, the people in charge are going to be like, yeah, let's prove that we have the better product. Let's go head to head with WWE. Because if they decide that, you can't tell me that WWE ain't going to try to be better. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. And I know I say that a lot, but let's to be patient, guys. Double or Nothing is a week from this Saturday. Double or Nothing will give us a better idea of what we're going to get when it comes to this promotion in the fall. And let's take a look at the fact that they also have two other events coming up. Are they going to be pay-per-view events? Not really, but they will be on the Bleacher Report streaming app. There's Bleacher Report or live, so that's a good thing. They got, like I said, the two events they got coming in June and July will be on Bleacher Report, so that's a good thing. That is a good thing. I think the one thing some fans are worried about that they actually like about some of the companies that do have semi-major television deals or streaming deals is the wrestlers are allowed to compete elsewhere. They're allowed to compete in other promotions. And if AEW, excuse me, if AEW wants to, get these partnerships going and all that in the future, hopefully they allow that to happen, and they don't just lock in the talents to be like, yeah, you only work for us now. You don't work for anybody else. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't think it will, but we'll have to wait and see. But I am happy this is happening, and I wish nothing but the best to Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Brandy, to the Khan family, and mostly to TNT with what they're going to present and in the fall. I cannot wait. We might find out exactly what day and time slot it's going to come on before this day's out or before this week's out. That's just an assumption, but we might find out very soon before we know it. And yeah, I'm really happy for them. I mean, they got a great announce team already. They got, who is it? They got Jim Ross. Well, Jim Ross, of course. They got JR. They got Excalibur, who did a great job at All In. They got, what's his name? Alex Mavinzi or something. So that's a 3-man booth. I know some people don't like that, but I guess that's the thing nowadays. Well, 3-person booth. I know a lot of people don't like that, but again, that's the thing. You got Elisa Trout, who used to work for Impact backstage as an interview, now doing things. And they got Justin Roberts. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So overall, I wish nothing but the best to them. And let's see what happens. Let's see what we get. Basically, Double or Nothing is the inaugural, if not the debut, the pilot. So let's see what we're going to be getting starting with that. And then that, Double or Nothing, in my opinion, will give us a good idea of what to expect in the future. So really looking forward to it. But now, let's move on to another news item that has been floating around recently. And again, Delexman did a report on this not that long ago. Again, Delexman did a report on this yesterday. Even before he what was the other video he did? Oh, his Money in the Bank preview. The next man. Oh, and by the way, this is the. I can't really read it well because it was JPEG, but this is the press release right there for the AEW TNT deal. It's right there. So pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. I might just frame that. Who knows? Excuse me. But that isn't the only wrestling news that has come out this week, guys. Recently, as of yesterday, there was a report that during one of Wade Keller's podcasts, his most recent podcast, one of his more recent podcasts, I think it was Raw or something like that, his post Raw podcast, he got a phone call from a very close friend and a very close source to the writers, I think. Okay, it says it right here. But when a friend of one of the three WWE writers called into Wade Keller's podcast or post show of Monday Night Raw, because a lot of the podcasters like Wade Keller do a kind of like a post show after Raw and SmackDown go off the air. Well, Wade Keller, yeah, Gino, from what I understand, it's not going to be on Fight, apparently, because if you watch check out Joe Cronin's show. He talked about this. It looks like it's just going to be Bleacher Report Live that's going to be doing this because B/R Live, Gino, is basically owned by Warner Media. So. Oh, I'm going to try to get it. I just got to pay the rest of my cable bill to be able to get it. So don't worry. I'm going to take care of that. Anyway, getting back to the article here. Getting back to this next article. A close friend of three of the WWE writers called into Wade Keller's podcast, his post show after Monday Night Raw. Now, these are just the cliff notes, but look at this. Compared to the 2 pages I just read off this is about, I think, this is basically about, trying to see here. Yeah, it's about a page longer, almost a page longer. But it shows you that there's a lot to look into, a lot to tie into. And thank you, Gino, for tuning into the podcast, to the stream. I do appreciate that. But anyway, this is well, let's be honest, guys. A lot of people have been frustrated lately with what's going on with WWE and Raw and SmackDown, mostly Raw. A lot of people feel that Vince McMahon, despite giving him all the credit for putting wrestling on the map as it is today, has been losing it. He's been losing a step. He's becoming senile. He doesn't see that he's screwing up. And everybody has always assumed that what is being broadcast on USA is not for an entire audience watching at home or an entire audience in attendance at the arena. It's for an audience of one, and that's Vincent Kennedy McMahon. We assumed that. We didn't want to believe it. Right? Didn't want to believe it. But guess what? This here proves otherwise. So let me read you some of the cliff notes here because you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised about this. Now, you may not be surprised because, you pretty much heard it from people like the Lexman, Joe Cronin, JD from New York, or JD from NY. You've heard it from Solomon. You're going to hear it from Solomon, there's no doubt. Greg Morgan, OTR Central is probably going to say something about it, hopefully down the line. You've heard it from just about everybody. Hold on for a sec. Speaking of JD, let me go to Twitter here. Go to Twitter here for a second. Go. Yeah, and I think that's what I was just reading what Chase Oliver was saying there. He hopes that AEW becomes the first wrestling show with a legit off season. Well, you see that may like I said, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens when AEW becomes officialized. Really, not besides Double or Nothing becomes an official thing in the fall, or becomes really official in the fall. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, we all assumed that it was being written for one person. We didn't want to believe it. Nobody did. But this is otherwise. And like I said, you're going to have everybody from Solomon's to OTR Essential. Deluxe Man's already talked about it. Good Mic Workers probably talked about it or will talk about it. Wrestle Talk. No DQ, Aaron Riff, Chase Oliver, Jeff Meacham, JD from New York. Like I said, JD from NY. Everybody's going to be talking about this. Everybody. Or has been, or will be, or has been talking about this. But what happened on Monday was a close friend of one of the three WWE writers phoned in or called in to Wade Keller's post show for Monday Night Raw. Now, there is a 3-hour stream of that somewhere. You could have to look it up online. I think the Lex Man has it. I'll try to see if he does, and maybe I'll edit the description later to put it in there. But basically, these are the cliff notes. These are the cliff notes, believe it or not, of what was said on there. On Wade Keller. This is the cliff notes from the phone call Wade Keller got from that close friend of one of the three WWE writers. But here's the cliff notes. And they even say it here. It says, here are things said on the podcast by the close friend of three current WWE writers. Here are things said on the podcast by the close friend of three current WWE writers. Check this out. 1. WWE's problems are... Okay. The first one, and again, it says, here are things said on the podcast by the close friend of three current WWE writers. I know I'm repeating myself here. I just want to get this across right. Here are things said on the podcast by the close friend of three current WWE writers. Okay, so here's out. So here are the things. Here are the things. 1, here are the things that were discussed. 1, WWE's problems are not the fault of the writers. To quote what the person said, this is what the close friend said. To quote, what this close friend said. No one should rip on WWE creative. They have some of the most brilliant, unbelievable, cool ideas that I've ever heard. Continuing on. Because that's what he was told. Continuing on, this is what the friend also said. Okay, hold on, let me reread that. Reread that. He says, this is what the close friend said. WWE's problems are not the fault of the writers. No one should rip on WWE creative. They have some of the most brilliant, unbelievable, cool ideas I've ever heard. Now, the close friend, now that's what the close friend said. The close friend also says that he was told that they were writing for an audience of one and to never forget that, and if not, you're out of here. And that audience of one, you guessed it, is Vince McMahon. He, he goes on to say, this is a close friend, this is what the close friend says, goes on to say, the most frustrated person, and I'm going to fix that frustrated name on there in the title. Don't worry about that. It says, the most frustrated person in the back every night is Triple H. He'll always take, especially the NXT guys, under his wing. It looks like he's consoling them. It looks so much like he was the most frustrated person in the building every single night. Well, can you blame Triple H for being that way? Well, can you blame Triple H for being that way? I mean, here's guys like Ricochet, Aleister Black, Heavy Machinery, Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, here are guys that he has groomed for success, that he brought into NXT, brought into WWE to groom them to be the next big thing, the future of the company. And the moment they come to the main roster, they get killed. They get destroyed. They get humiliated. Now, you can kind of tell who's running things behind the scenes on both shows. Like, you can tell Raw is ran by Vince, Triple H is running SmackDown. So you can tell there's a difference, whether anybody wants to admit that. But yeah, I don't blame him for being frustrated, because now all of a sudden he's seen some people he brought into WWE and into NXT that eventually went to the main roster not wanting anything to do with WWE, like Lio Rush. Lio Rush is an exception, but still, Lio Rush, Sasha Banks. People wanting out like Hideo Itami, Kenta, Shawn Spears, Ty Dillinger. You know, people not wanting to be there. Luke Harper. So you can understand why he's frustrated. Now, continuing on, the person also said, this close friend also says, the wild card rule was not in the script on the morning of the show. So, in other words, what Vince did was he implemented it on the fly, implemented it moments before, and now they just got to work it into the system. I think it's obvious that Vince knows Fox, according to reports, Fox and USA want the brand split over. So he's doing what he can to kind of compromise that. Vince, I know you won't be watching this, but people probably close to you will be. Just come out at Money in the Bank and announce the end of the brand split and be done with it. Okay? Announce the end of the brand split and go on to announce that it either Stomping Grounds or Extreme Rules, if you want to make them a big deal, that all championships will be unified. Okay? It's better than a wild card rule, guys. And I think anybody will agree with that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying that, but let me continue on. Deha, great, and thank you for being in the live stream. Appreciate that. Let me go on to say that, but let me go on to read what I got here. The article goes on to say, the close friend goes on to say, the superstar shakeup. This was the close friend of the three current WWE writers. He goes on to say, the superstar shakeup changed week to week and didn't pan out how it was originally laid out months prior. Everything changed because Vince just decided to change it. So let me, okay. So let me understand this. Are you saying that, I don't know, Sasha Banks, who wanted to go to SmackDown, potentially was SmackDown bound months prior, was told, Sasha, you're gonna get your wish. You're going to that more wrestling oriented SmackDown or more wrestling focused SmackDown show. You're gonna get a chance to go to that more athletically based SmackDown brand and show what you can do. Can you imagine Sasha Banks being happy to hear that? And then all of a sudden, about a day or so later, you have Vince going up to her and saying, Sasha Banks, I've changed my mind. You're going to stay on Raw. Yeah, because that's great. That's a good idea. Yeah, we're going to keep it that way. Da 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 da. Can you imagine Sasha's reaction like, what? I mean, think about it. And think about it this way, too. Think about the Usos. Everybody said the Usos were one of the best tag teams, not just in WWE, but in wrestling, and showed that they were the best on the SmackDown brand. And now, even with the wild card rule, as crazy as that sounds, can still show it. But what does Vince do when it's probably rumored that they're going to stay on SmackDown and help continue flourishing that division? What does Vince do? Well, a week or so before, a day before, yeah, Jimmy, Jay, you're gonna move to Raw, and we're gonna turn you into a comedy act, yeah, because that makes money. Da, 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 da. Okay, and then what about, let's say, Seth Rollins? Seth Rollins is the Universal Champion on SmackDown. I mean, on Raw, right? You know, it's like, you know, it, what about Seth? Again, what about Seth Rollins? I'm sure Seth months prior was like, yeah, Seth, you're going to go to SmackDown. You're going to show what you can really do there, and we're going to make you the champ there. Or maybe there were plans he was going to take the Universal title to SmackDown, and maybe whoever the WWE champion was going to go to Raw, right? Can you imagine Seth being like, oh, great, I love it. Take the Universal Championship, make it primary, give it more focus, more meaning when it comes to SmackDown. And then all of a sudden, here comes Vince going like, yeah, Seth, we're going to keep you on Raw because that's best for business, and it makes money that way. Yada, 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 yada. I don't understand it. So you're telling me any potential positive moves for both brands, positive moves for both brands were taken out of the equation, just thrown away at the last minute, months of planning, months of finalizing, just thrown out because Vince felt like he just wanted to do things his way. This makes me, to quote something my mom, to visually quote, not say, but quote, what my mom used to do when she used to get angry at my father at times, or at any kind of bad situation. This is what my mom used to do when she would get angry, just frustrated. She'd be like, because basically she was visually just, in her own way, she was like, she just wanted to twist and break something. She wanted to get her anger out on breaking something. And if she could get her hands on somebody's neck, she could be like, that's visually in her mind. Like, that was visually in her mind at times. When she would get really angry, she'd be like, like, telling you, that's what's making a lot of people angry with Vince McMahon right now. Angry with WWE. I mean, you have a whole peripheral of employees, writers, producers, and all that. People quitting because of this crap. People going on hiatus because of this crap. What's going to happen? You know what needs to happen? WWE's the people behind the scenes. They need to do a damn walkout. Let's see what Vince does then. Walk out of the damn company. Say, we're not coming back until you let us do things the way we want. What's Vince going to do? Is he going to be so prideful? He's going to be like, oh, I can write the show without you. And then he gets frustrated and he can't figure it out. And then he's going to have to admit, oh, all right, you can write it the way you want. I'll just sit on the sidelines. Yeah, a walkout may be what happens or may need to happen. What you're watching basically is someone that's as a fan that's frustrated like anybody else. I mean, I haven't watched Monday Night Raw, a full show of Raw, or a full show of SmackDown in a long time because I don't know what the heck's going on anymore. Sorry about that, guys. Just checking something there for a second. Make sure everything's adjusted. Good. Okay, so hold on here. All right. Oop, so too high. Make sure everything's good. Good. All right. Nice. Hear me? Cool. All right. Next up. All right. So yeah, I think a walkout is what's needed, guys. There's no doubt about that. All right. Continuing on. The close friend also mentioned that he talked about the turnover with so many backstage people quitting or being fired. Well, can you imagine? Can you blame people for quitting or wanting to be fired? Who would want to work for somebody that doesn't decide, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, we'll go with that, and just be done with it? I don't know. It's just, I can't blame. I mean, the fact that, and here's the thing, getting fired for what? Fired for what? You're standing up for what you believe in? You're saying, oh, well, I think this is what we should do, and this is why. Stupid. It's like, come on. What's going to happen is this article, if not already, is going to get out. It's going to get out amongst everything. It's going to get out in a big way that I wouldn't be surprised if the Fox executives, the people that are close to the situation, the stockholders and all that, the placeholders, the stockholders, whatever, and even those at Fox, they read this, they hear about this, they get confirmation about it, and they're going to be like, you know what? We don't want nothing to do with WWE if all we're going to be doing is broadcasting a show that's meant to entertain one person. They're going to have to, something's got to happen. Either a walkout or someone at Fox is going to have to step in and basically put the foot down on this whole situation. All right. Here's the other thing. The close friend said. SmackDown and Raw writing teams are the same for both shows. They used to be separate, but that's changed recently after the shakeup. Well, if they're the same writing talent, you can tell there's a bit of a difference. Like I said earlier, you could tell who's in charge behind both shows. You could tell Vince mostly focuses on Raw and works that. Well, Triple H is mostly SmackDown. Gotta wonder what Ryan Ward, one of the head guys that Triple H depends on to write things, is thinking right now. The caller, the close friend, also emphasized that the problems in WWE are not creators' fault, and Vince McMahon is the one person who deserves the blame. I think that's pretty much a done fact. Now, before I continue, I know some people might say, well, how do we know this caller's legit? I think the Lex Man and I think anybody else can pretty much confirm Wade Keller is not going to let somebody call in, a random fan, I should say, hardcore, and not call in and just spew out BS. I believe this is as legit as it gets. Caller goes on to say, Vince wants suggestions from everyone, but it never gets on TV. 99 out of 100 times, you can come up with an idea for Vince and it won't be used. So basically, 99 out of 100. So only basically one idea from one person can get used. And that's it. Okay, Vince. I think honestly, if you're watching, Vince, honestly, if you're watching or somebody close to you is watching, somebody close in that company, I hate to say it, but get the straitjacket ready. Get the nursing home ready. Somebody do something. Because if you have a peripheral amount of writers, 37, 38 writers on the creative staff, let them do their job. Let them utilize their ideas. They might have some great ideas. Let them. If Ricochet comes up, if someone has an idea for Ricochet to go undefeated for a while because no one knows how to figure him out and how to beat him, go with it. If someone's got a great idea for Dana Brooke to finally prove she's more than just muscles and looks and muscles, and that she's athletic, go with it. Come on. Someone might have it. They even talk about Dana a little bit, I think. They might have an inspiring Dana Brooke story to get behind that would get the folks behind Dana Brooke. And make folks want to see maybe Dana Brooke to, I don't know, win Money in the Bank. Just saying. Continuing on. But I think a lot of the ideas, but look, 99 out of 100 ideas not being utilized and only one out of them being, it's stupid. Utilize every idea. I think Alex, the Lexman, said it best. Vince, get out of creative. Period. Continuing on. The entire creative team has pitched to have Raw and SmackDown look completely different, with different productions, a different way of shooting things, etc., and McMahon shoots it down. Sorry, my finger hit the mic there, but come on. Seriously? Vince, you have a gold mine there. You have a creative behind the scenes, Vince McMahon. You have behind the scenes, Vince McMahon. You have creative geniuses in Chris Parks, aka Abyss, and Matt freaking Hardy. Why don't you utilize them? Why don't you even have freaking Jeremy Borash under employment now? Did you not see what they did in Impact? Did you not see what they did for the Ultimate Deletion? Imagine using that kind of production and shooting style for one of those shows. You know what made the original Bland Split good? Was you able to tell which show was different and how it was presented? I don't know anymore. Stupid. How can you shoot down an idea to make your product more different, especially with the brands, to kind of differ what SmackDown looks, how different SmackDown is from Raw and vice versa? I understand it. Okay. Here's one that really will get a lot of NXT fans mad. Vince McMahon doesn't keep track of what's going on with NXT. He, quote unquote, maybe watches takeover shows. So in other words, so in other words, he doesn't know who the Undisputed Era is, right? He doesn't know who Roderick Strong is, right? He doesn't know who Adam Cole is, right? He doesn't know who Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly is, right? He doesn't know who Johnny Gargano is. Well, he knows who Johnny is, but he doesn't know who Candice LeRae is. Or Io Shirai. Okay. All right. He doesn't know who Matt Riddle is. Okay. The only way he knows them is when he perhaps watches a takeover show. No wonder people want Triple H to take over. He knows the damn product. Gosh, Christmas. How can you be the chairman, the CEO of a company, and not know the talent that is in your third/developmental brand? How can you not know that? That's dumb. Moving on. It's no wonder some of the talent gets misused on the main roster. But moving on. The writers, this is what the caller says. The writers say he just watches WWE, works out, and is not aware of things going on in the real world. So he just watches the company, he works out, and is not aware of what's going on. So you're telling me he's not aware of AEW? He's not aware of All Elite Wrestling? You're telling me that, folks? You're telling me this? That guy needs to get aware. He needs to get aware now. And if he's not, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. The writers say, according to the caller, there's no chance of Vince stepping down. Okay, first of all, I don't believe that. Because even in story mode, storylines, it is shown that the board of directors, legitimate or not, have the power to remove Vince from power. Storyline or not in the past, it has been proven that they have the power. So if they have the power to veto him out of power, then if I'm the board of directors, I veto Vince McMahon out of freaking power. He can still own the company, be known as the owner, but get him out of the chairman CEO position. Get him out of here. God, it, it's. I mean, seriously. You want to know why ratings are going? Down the damn shitter. Excuse my language, God. Because the guy won't step down from his position as chairman and CEO. But you know what? Board of directors, they have the power. They do. So if I'm the board of directors and I'm watching and hearing people complain, and I know this, and I find out that this is out and about, I get together and I say, Vince McMahon, we have come to a decision, Mr. Vince McMahon, we have come to a decision. We are hereby vetoing you out of power. You are no longer CEO or chairman because mentally you don't know what the hell you're doing. I don't know. Continuing on. Caller goes on to say, Dana Brooke has been the hardest worker for the last 3 years. Dana Brooke, that is. It says Dana Brooke has been the hardest worker for the last 2 years. She goes to the performance center, she shows up early and helps set up the ring, and she gets in the ring so she can get better. Creative will pitch something for her, and she gets nothing up until recently with Money in the Bank. So I guess a lot of the detractors of Dana have to eat crow. and creative has been trying to pitch something for her, and she hasn't gotten any response until now. So you're telling me they probably had an inspirational story for her, and they just knocked it down? Okay, all right. You know what? This coming out, this article, this report, or whatever. Don't be surprised if fans get behind Dana at Money in the Bank, and as soon as she climbs, they start going Dana, Dana, Dana. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. Kala goes on to say that he offered to tell Waikala off the air some cool storylines that were never pitched and never used. Well, maybe Waikala might talk about that in the future. Nakala goes on to say that the writer he talked to said, quote, "We are all working for Dana Warrior and it's really awkward." Don't know what to say. I guess Dana has some leeway. How she got. I mean, last I heard about Dana Warrior, she was shadowing. Now all of a sudden she's the boss? Or one of the bosses? And exactly. So you're telling me some of the ideas that are being shot down, maybe, or being reissued or reshuffled or under her watch before they go to Vince? Yeah, she won't last long. I mean, no offense to Dana Warrior. No offense. I loved her. I loved watching her husband. Husband was one of the most entertaining guys I saw in the ring. And I was a big fan. Heck, I dressed up as the Warrior when I was a kid for Halloween. But no offense to Dana, but being the head of a creative staff is not your forte. You're not. You know what's going to happen, guys? One of these nights, they're going to be in a town, whether it's Hartford, Chicago, wherever, and fans, after reading this or listening to the podcast, they're going to say some derogatory. They're going to say some derogatory remarks about Dana. Very unflattering. You're going to hear chants about firing her or something like that because they're going to know that if she's head of creative, she's got to go. So no offense to her. She's a great ambassador. It's nice she's there to present the Warrior Award and everything, but no, I don't think so. Dana, we love you. Dana Warrior, we love you. But maybe you need to give the reins to somebody else. Here's what's interesting. Carla goes on to say that the Fox contract prohibits Fox from moving the show to FS1 even if the ratings drop. So in other words, let's say SmackDown goes from a 4.0 rating 1 week and it drops to a 2.0 and it continues to drop to a 1.5 and then to a 0.6. Guess what? Fox can't move it because WWE will sue them. Okay. Carla goes on to say, one writer is very close to quitting because he is so, quote, unbelievably unhappy, and many of the writers are paranoid and think they are close to being fired. Well, of course they'd be paranoid about that. They're trying to write something that gets his approval. I mean, they want to write for the audience, they want to write for the fans, they want to write for the superstars, but they're only writing for one man. So what are they supposed to do? Write or type up, okay, this is a good idea for Ricochet, but this is a good idea for Ricochet because it's what the fans want, but how can we make this idea something that Vince will like? It's like, oh, you shouldn't be working in an environment where you're paranoid. You shouldn't be. Carla goes on to say that it's such a toxic atmosphere and it's all because of one person. I think with any job, if it becomes unworkable, so, workable, of course, is going to feel toxic. I think anybody that's had any job in the past knows that. Knows that if the atmosphere doesn't feel good, it starts to. If the atmosphere goes from being a positive one to a toxic one, then you know it's time to get out. Carla goes on to say that when Neville walked out, there was a crazy shouting match, and he flipped out on Vince McMahon, and that was the last they saw of him. The writers praised Neville for being so easy to work with. So Neville leaving, Pac, if you will, leaving, wasn't because he wanted to. It was because Vince McMahon wouldn't let him move up or wouldn't let him do more than what he was doing. I mean, you basically regulated Neville, Adrian Neville, Pac to 205 Live. Nothing wrong with 205 Live right now, but you regulated him to the cruiserweight division, and you had him drop the belt to someone who who's gone on and who has gone to prove that he has a very controversial background to him, Enzo Amore, Nenzo, if you will, whatever he calls himself now. All because at the time you wanted to make 205 Live about entertainment. And to hear that the writers felt Neville was easy to work with, it's great. That is great to hear. I mean, Neville being easy to work with. I mean, I'm sure when the writer Neville came back and they pitched Neville, can you be a bad guy? Neville's like, absolutely. I can be a bad guy more so than you think. Come on. Seriously. So come on, seriously. You're losing a great talent. And I'm pretty sure Pac, Neville, wanted to move up to the bigger levels, move up to a higher perspective. But he never got the chance. I mean, he had a freaking WWE Championship match with Seth Rollins and proved he could be champion material on that level. What happened? When Vince goes to him and says, "Oh yeah, Neville, we're not going to let you. We're going to put you at 205 Live." I mean, seriously, what happened? Did Neville and Vince go to Neville and go like, "Oh yeah, Neville, that was a great match, but we're gonna put you, but we're not. That's the last time you're gonna get a chance to touch that because we're gonna make you just a mid card guy." And then what happened later on? He comes back, becomes a bad guy, goes to 205 Live, becomes a champ, and all of a sudden he gets into this feud with Enzo. Where basically you get a double turn and Neville becomes the face. Enzo is the heel, and Vince is like, yeah, Neville, you're gonna drop the cruiserweight title to Enzo because we're gonna make 205 Live about entertainment instead of wrestling because entertainment makes money. You know, reading this, I'm glad Pac's gone from WWE, and I'm glad he's going to AEW. I'm glad he's doing that. Because you know why? Excuse me there. You know why? Because AEW, if they live up to what they say they're going to do, is going to treat him better. Do not be surprised. As hypocritical as this may sound, AEW puts the world championship on him. Don't be surprised by that. I mean, right off the bat, when he went back to the Indies, what happened? He became the he became the Dragon Gate Open the Gate champion. Right off the bat. One of the first matches Pac had on the Indies, back on the Indies, he became the Open the Gate champion for Dragon Gate. And all because what? And And you know what this tells me, just reading that? I don't think Neville wanted to leave. I think Neville just wanted to get the opportunity to go higher up on the level. I mean, look, they're already moving They've moved Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali onto the main roster, onto the main shows from 205 Live. You're telling me Neville wanted to have that opportunity before they actually started doing it because he already proved as a babyface against a heel Seth Rollins that he can compete in a WWE Championship match, and even if it was storylined, proved he can come this close to being the WWE Champion. Seriously, Vince, you lose a guy like that, you're out of your mind. And if Neville does come back, if Pac does go back to WWE in the future, hopefully Triple H is running things and Triple H is going to make it up to him and go like, yeah, Pac, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, Pac, I'm sorry about what happened and make it up to you. We're going to make you a surprise challenger for the WWE Universal Championship and you're going to win it. That's the best way I think they should make it up to him. Let him be a surprise challenger. Let him surprise challenge for who the Universal Championship or WWE Championship. Let him win it. Let him have a good, decent reign. That's how I make it up to somebody like that. If he ever comes back. All right. Continuing on, this is what the caller said. Continuing on, this is what else the caller said. He said, ideas never pan out as originally planned because writers will come up with stuff and then Vince loses interest after a week or two. He used Mojo Rawley as an example. So this whole shtick with Mojo talking to himself and getting these vein-like things painted on his face is because Vince McMahon had plans. They had plans for him, and Vince lost interest. Okay. All right. Okay. I got a lot to say after this is done. Hold on. The caller goes on to say, the money is good and it's a dream job for many writers, but it gets frustrating. The talent is very unhappy and people are trying to get out of their contracts. Well, of course you're unhappy. Yeah, you might be getting paid good money, but if you're not happy doing what you love to do, then why are you there? Why are you constantly there? You shouldn't be in a place to where even if you make a good living out of it, you're not happy. You know, it's no wonder Sasha Banks doesn't want to be there now. It's no wonder Luke Harper does. They're not letting them do what they want. What? I mean, yeah, I understand fans are worried. People are worried about Sasha killing herself or paralyzing herself with what she does in the ring. But if that's what she believes gets her over, not only gets her over, but proves that she's the best legitimate women's wrestler in the world, then I say let her do it. I say let her do her thing. Let her learn on her own, potentially, that maybe she shouldn't be doing this. Just saying, guys. I think it makes more sense. And if you just let somebody do what they want, and if they've learned the lesson on their own, they learn the lesson on their own. But don't make them feel like they don't want to be there because you don't want to give them that opportunity. That's wrong. And don't make people that want to come into your company, be part of your company, with potential that are potentially good writers that can write potentially good storylines. Don't make them feel unhappy, even if you pay them well, by shooting down those stories. It's not right. I mean, honestly, I'll get into that later. Hold on. Caller goes on to say, the writers say Bruce Pritchard. Okay, the next thing the caller says is, the writers say Bruce Pritchard is a pleasure to work with. Quote, he's a funny guy and a pleasure to work with, but he's not getting through to Vince either. In other words, the guy that was brought back to be the bridge, to be the messenger, the bridge and the messenger to Vince, can't even get through to Vince. Then why did you bring Bruce Pritchard back? It's stupid. If you're bringing somebody back to be your close confidant to give you insight and everything so you can make your product better, why aren't you listening to that person? It doesn't make sense if you're not going to listen to that person who you brought back as your close confidant on who's supposed to give you the insight and everything and what and how to improve if you're not going to take any of that into consideration. Get this though. Get this though. Caller goes on to say, Shane McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon have tried to talk to Vince, but it hasn't worked. Are you telling me his own kids can't even get through to him? Are you telling me Stephanie's going up to him and saying, Dad, you need to step away. These ideas aren't working. Triple H and all of them have better ideas. And what's Vince doing? He's going like, no, these ideas are good. They're good. It's seriously. I mean, it's Triple H talking to him going like, Vince, we can't push this. This is not what the fans want. They want this. Oh, they don't want this guy. They want this guy. And what's Vince doing? Is he going into a relapse of the past, going like, oh no, Triple H, they like this guy because this is a great idea because this is 1980. I mean 2019. Seriously, is that what's going on? They're trying to tell him otherwise, and he doesn't want to listen. Is he having relapses as well, maybe, to where he thinks he's in another time frame or another timeline? Give me a break. Give me a freaking break. You know, this shows you how stubborn and how out there this guy is if he's not even going to listen to his own kids. It's dumb. That right there is the telling point. That right there, this right here is the telling point. Hold on, check something. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, look, where is it? Where is it? Right here. This right here, that's the telling point. Right there, where my finger's at. That's the telling point. You're telling me his own family can't even get through to him. What's it going to take, Linda McMahon to get through to him? Maybe. Anyway, continuing on. The caller says, the people on the writing staff listens to podcasts and they hear fans bashing them and it breaks their heart. Well, of course it's going to break their heart. Of course it's going to hurt them. They're trying their best to provide quality entertainment and wrestling matches, wrestling athleticism combined with that for them to enjoy. And the fans are crapping on it because of the fact it's not what they want. It's not what they want because, as we read earlier, it's only about one person. So yeah, I don't blame the writers for being disheartened and saddened by this. But the thing is, if you're disheartened and saddened by it, why are you there? Quit. Leave. Go to AEW. Go to Major League Wrestling. Go to Impact. Your ideas will be better utilized there. And you won't have fans going against you then. Okay. Caller goes on to say that Vince is in the announcer's ears, quote, to a sentence, and he gets on them for tiny mistakes. Oh, poor Renee. Renee Young, if you're listening, get out of there. Get out of there, Renee. Go join your husband on the independents. Go join your husband. Have a nice long vacation, but get out of there. If this is true, if that part's true, and it probably is, get out of there, Renee. I'm saying this for your own good, girl. I mean, I've always been a fan of you, Renee. I've always saw that potential. Everybody's been behind you, but I think people reading this, hearing the podcast, and listening to that, they're going to say the same thing. Get out of there. Here's what the caller also goes on to say. On Sami Zayn. That's not Sami Zayn's promos. That's Vince McMahon talking through Sami Zayn. Gee, I am not Gee, why are we not surprised? Why doesn't Vince just come out and say it himself? Go like, I don't like either one of you people. I know what's better. This is 1988. 2019. Vince using one of his own superstars to talk to berate the fans. Vince, you want to berate us? Have the guts to do it yourself. Don't use someone as talented as Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is entertaining on his own. He doesn't need you telling him, go say what I want to say. And he'll get opportunities. No. Sami should just be his own guy. Not Vince McMahon's damn puppet. You want a good example of how entertaining he can be? Check out his matches before WWE when he was El Generico. Carlo goes on to say, there are 37 total writers, and they are now working on both shows. Like I said earlier, I gotta wonder what Ryan Ward is thinking about this. It's no wonder Road Dogg went on hiatus. Carlo goes on to say, NBC, Universal, and Fox both want the top stars. Well, gee, that explains the freaking wild card. But I don't think it's the wild card either, because there have been reports they want the brand split. Both sides want the brand split over. They don't think it's necessary anymore, and I think that's why. And I think that's why they say this. The caller says they want both stars because they want the brand split over. They don't want this wild card bullshit. Excuse my language, God. They don't want this wild card BS. They want both shows to be one entity. They want both. They want superstars across all the shows to go back and forth. That's what they want. They don't want, oh, let's just have Roman show up every now and then on Raw and then just have him on SmackDown. Or let's have Ricochet show up every now and then on SmackDown, but mostly on Raw. No, they want the whole shebang. They want this brand split over. That's what this means to me. That's what I'm getting. That's the vibe I'm getting from this. All right. I'm when the Lex Man read this part, and I'm about to read it, being half Latino, half Mexican, I take pride in my half Latino heritage. I take pride in my part Spanish heritage. My mom is full Mexican, so I take pride in this. So I take pride in the heritage part of the heritage I come from. But this just shows you Vince is so out of touch. How dare he say this to someone as talented as this guy? Get a load of this. Andrade Cien went into Vince's office. This is what the caller says. Andrade Cien went into Vince's office and asked for a legit push. Vince looked at him and said, get this is Vince McMahon's own words, quote, learn some English and get back to me. My answer to that? Matida seed bandejo. That's what you are, Vince. To every fan of every nationality, part or full, you are a Matilda C. Benejo. That's what you are. You are a Matilda C. Bandejo. That's what you are. In other words, you're a damn asshole. How dare you say that to someone? If you don't understand what they're saying, oh, I don't know. Here's an odd saying. Get a Spanish translator. Get someone that speaks the language and translate it for you. Don't tell somebody, go learn some English and you get back to me. But tira si bendejo. That's what you are. Tira si bendejo. Excuse my language, God. But I will give Andrade credit. At least he's not complaining. It says Andrade spoke some English last week and he's been taking English lessons. So I'll give him credit. At least he is trying so he can at least get his opportunity. Excuse my language, God. Please forgive me. In your name I pray. Amen. But then, here's some positiveness. I will give this. The Firefly Funhouse stuff is all Bray Wyatt's idea. Bray is described as an absolute genius, and he helps other wrestlers with their promos. He's one of the best guys in the locker room. So that's some positive news. At least Bray Wyatt is looked at as a genius, and if he's being backed by The Undertaker, who's helped him out with this, then that's good. That is good. So at least that's some positiveness. Now, the caller goes on to say, the writers he's talked to say they loved when there was a real brand split. Well, gee, I wonder why. Ideas can flow better. Makes more sense. Caller goes on to say that he mentioned the Revival Uso storyline being done because Vince just thinks it's funny. Hey, Cody! Cody Rhodes! You want a new tag team? It's called the Revival! Yeah, they want out! Oh, you're gonna take them? Oh, you're gonna make them the AEW World Tag Team Champions for 3 years straight, make them look dominant? Okay! Oh, we'll let them know! No wonder Revival wants out. And this is more proof that it's for one guy. The audience, the writing's for one guy. Oh, sorry. And finally, it's what the caller says. Some of the writers think Road Dogg will eventually end up in AEW. Now, in parentheses, it's noted that Road Dogg is currently on hiatus, and there's no word on when he'll be back or what he would be doing if he returns. Okay. Vince McMahon. Short and sweet of it is on the verge of being this. Wrap it around. Let me grab it. Wrap it around the arm. Tie the arm back. This is eventually what he's heading for. Get him over to the nut house. It's 2000. It's 1988. Oh, it's 2020. I don't know what that is. Vince. Oh, you gotta go, Vince McMahon. End of story. Look, give Vince McMahon credit for putting wrestling on the map the way it is today, but he has gotta go. End of discussion. He can still be the owner, but get him out of creative, get him out of booking, get him out as the chairman and the CEO, get him out. Because if this is why the product is sucking, and why people want out, writers, wrestlers, men, women, he's got to go. I mean, he's not even listening to his own kids and his own son-in-law. And his son-in-law is freaking pissed at him. What does Vince want? Does Vince want Triple H to come out and say, what do you want me to do? And Vince is like, I want you to shut down NXT. I want to rule the world. Ha 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 ha. Well, I want control of NXT and we'll make it back into the original NXT where it's about obstacles and gimmicks and all that because that makes money. Is that what this is? In the long run, Vince, is that what this is? You're just trying to find something that makes money? Money? Huh? Huh? Is that it? Oh, Vince. You wonder why people like Wrestling Inc., Pro Wrestling Insider, Wade Keller, Mike Johnson, Bill Apter, The Lex-Man, OTR Central, Chase Oliver, No DQ, Aaron Riff, Jeff Meacham. You wonder why JD from NY. You wonder why they're pissed at you? They wonder why they are mad at your product? They're not mad at the product, no. They see the effort trying to be put into it in ring-wise and even storyline-wise, but then the end result is they see something that doesn't make any sense. Why would you take why would you break your promise? Huh? I don't get it. I don't get it. What's it going to take? Like I said, what is it going to take? Is it going to take what I said earlier? Is it going to take a walkout behind the scenes by everybody? So if Vince realizes, okay, I need to step down. I need to move on. Maybe that's what it needs. This is just frustrating. It is frustrating. Now, look, I know some people will come on here and they'll basically say that you don't know if that call up is legitimate. And you're right, and you have a right to your opinion. But there are people that have said that people like Wade Keller will not let anybody call in to just rant because they're a hardcore fan. What we got here was legitimacy. True legitimacy. Probably as close as we're going to get. So, I don't know. All I know is WWE has till October to shape up. And all I know is they have till October to situate this Vince McMahon thing out. If it's going to lead to a legitimate work shoot storyline where Vince has to step down, well, maybe he has somebody represent him in a match against Triple H, and Triple H wins and Vince is gone before the Fox deal officially happens in October, so be it. But something has to be done, guys. This is getting ridiculous. The fact that it's revealed what we pretty much assumed was the truth, that this is all being done for one person. I guarantee you the people at Fox and at USA, NBC, Universal, they're not happy to hear that. The moment they hear about this, and I guarantee you it's going to reach them, they hear about the fact that the reason things have sucked is because it's all about one person. They're going to do whatever it takes to get Vince out. They have the power to do that. So I don't know. Just all I know is things got to change. They've got to change, and they've got to change now. But that's all I'm going to say, guys. That's all I'm going to say because I think I think honestly, if you take out the whole audience of one thing, you can kind of tell that there is potential. I mean, you take a look at the difference at times between SmackDown and Raw, and even more than likely the difference between 205 Raw, 205 and Raw, and 205 and SmackDown, and more so than anything NXT. You can tell who's doing the correct booking and booking for the audience, and you can tell who's doing the booking just for one person, just to entertain one person. You can tell the difference. So hopefully this all changes before October, if not sooner. But let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Thank you all to tuned in into the live chat. Really appreciate your comments and everything. But let me know what you all think down below, and I will talk to y'all later.